After divorcing me, my husband forced me to marry my father-in-law. I thought my life couldn't get any worse, but I was wrong. I was trapped in a situation that shook me to my core. What happened next will leave you speechless. In Islam, remarriage after divorce is mandatory, but I never thought my halala would involve my father-in-law, who was very old. What shocked me even more was the unexpected turn of events when, make sure to watch the full story, and let us know in the comments how you found our previous story. I was peacefully sleeping in Shahram's arms. Shahram, the man I had married out of love, was someone I trusted blindly. With him, I felt secure and at ease. Even now, I was comfortable in his embrace when my phone started ringing. I picked it up and saw it was my friend, crying on the other end. I quietly left the room, careful not to disturb Shahram's sleep, and walked towards the stairs. My room was in the upper portion of the house, while my father-in-law lived downstairs. Although he wasn't Shahram's biological father, Shahram treated him with the same love and respect. I sat halfway down the stairs, phone pressed to my ear, and asked my friend why she was crying. Maria, sobbing uncontrollably, told me that her husband had thrown her out of the house and was planning to remarry because she couldn't have children. Hearing her pain broke my heart. Maria was my close friend. I assured her, "Don't worry, I'll speak to your husband right now." I knew her husband, Zain, well, as Maria had married him 2 years before my own wedding. We had interacted several times. I hung up on Maria and immediately dialed Zain's number, determined to confront him for mistreating my friend. But just as I started talking, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to see Shahram standing there, looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. He extended his hand and said, "Give me the phone." Confused, I handed him the phone and explained, "It's Zain, Maria's husband." Without a word, he ended the call and suddenly burst out in anger. "Why was he calling you so late at night?" His tone was filled with hatred and suspicion. My heart began to race, and I realized he had misunderstood the situation. "Shahram, it's not what you think," I stammered. "Maria called me in distress. Zain kicked her out of the house, and I was just trying to reason with him." But my explanation only fueled his anger. Without warning, he slapped me hard across the face and spat, "Don't lie to me. I know what's been going on." I froze as he continued. "Maria told me everything a long time ago. She said you've been chasing her husband, and now you've had her thrown out of her own house, so you can sit here late at night whispering sweet nothings to her husband on the stairs." His words were like knives cutting into me. Trembling with rage, I shouted back, "Have you lost your mind, Shahram? Why would I do that? Maria is my best friend. I'm only worried because of her and Zain's fight. You know they've been struggling to have a baby, and now Zain has thrown her out." Before I could finish, Shahram grabbed me by the hair and snarled, "I never thought that the person I trusted the most would turn my life into a living nightmare." His accusations, her betrayal, and the words that shattered my world all happened in the blink of an eye. Shahram looked at me with disgust, his gaze sharp like a dagger. "Maria told me everything," he said bitterly. "She told me how you keep making excuses to call Zain, even late at night. I didn't believe her at first. But tonight, when Maria called and said you were talking to her husband, I couldn't ignore it. When I walked out of the room, I saw it with my own eyes. You sitting on the stairs, whispering into the phone with Zain." I tried to interrupt, but he continued, his words slicing through me like a knife. "Maria isn't the one who got thrown out of her house. She's still living there with her husband. The problem isn't her, it's you. You're the one who's ruining her home. What was missing in my love that made you interested in her husband? Didn't you feel any shame? You didn't respect our marriage, and you didn't honor your friendship either." He stared at me with contempt, and tears blurred my vision. I struggled out of his grip and pleaded, "You're mistaken, Shahram. I called Zain only because Maria asked me to. I wanted to help her, not destroy her home. Yes, my mistake was calling him this late at night. But if you don't believe me, ask Maria yourself." I grabbed the phone from his hand, dialed Maria's number, and put it on speaker. "Maria, tell him why I called Zain," I said, hoping she would clear the misunderstanding. But what came next left me in shock. Maria's voice trembled as she sobbed on the other end. "Because you love him, Vania. You've been trying to get rid of Shahram so you can have Zain. You destroyed my home, and I can never forgive you. You were supposed to be my friend, but you went after my husband." Her words hit me like a slap. The floor beneath me felt like it had vanished. I stammered, "Maria, what are you saying? You're not making sense. I called Zane because you said he threw you out of the house." But Maria cut me off, her voice filled with venom. "Why would my husband throw me out? This is all you. You're the one trying to take over my home. Just because I don't have children, you thought you could take advantage of that. But remember, Zane loves me, not you. He's mine." And with that, she hung up, leaving me paralyzed. It felt like someone had thrown me onto burning coals. I turned to look at Shahram, but his eyes were filled with rage and betrayal. "Tell me, Vanya," he said, his voice icy, "how long has this been going on? Are you just talking on the phone, or have you been meeting him secretly too?" Shame washed over me as I shook my head in denial. "There's nothing like that. Maria is lying." Shahram let out a sarcastic laugh. "First, you said Zane threw Maria out of the house. Then you said you called him because Maria told you to. And now you're saying Maria is lying. What's next, Vanya? Are you going to say that I'm lying too? That what I saw and heard with my own eyes and ears wasn't real? That it wasn't Zane on the phone, but Maria instead?" His words dripped with sarcasm and bitterness. He was drowning in mistrust and hatred. I wanted to scream, to prove my innocence. But before I could speak, Shahram said the words that tore my world apart. "I, Shahram Khan, in full consciousness, give you talak. I give you talak. I give you talak." His voice echoed in my ears like thunder, and my heart shattered. In one breath, he had ended our marriage. Everything was over, all because Maria had filled his mind with poison, and he had chosen to believe her over me. I stood there numb, unable to comprehend why Maria had betrayed me. Why had she trapped me like this? And why had Shahram been so quick to believe her lies? But the damage was done. He had divorced me. My world had collapsed. I was trembling from head to toe. No tears welled up in my eyes, and no words escaped my lips. My eyes were dry, but they were filled with questions, questions that burned me from within. Shahram had walked away without answering any of them. He left me sitting there on the stairs, broken, shattered, and unable to comprehend how quickly my world had crumbled. I sat there as if my legs had given way beneath me. The night stretched on endlessly, and I cried silently, unable to find solace. As the call for Fajr prayer echoed through the silent dawn, I heard footsteps approaching. My father-in-law, Inayat Sahab, stepped out of his room and noticed me sitting on the cold stairs. His kind face wrinkled with concern as he came closer and asked, "Daughter, what's the matter? Why are you sitting here? Did you have a fight with Shahram?" I looked up at him with tear-filled eyes and whispered, "There's nothing left to fight about now. Your adopted son has divorced me." My words shocked him, and his eyes widened in disbelief. "What are you saying? Shahram could never do that. He loves you deeply," he insisted, his voice trembling with concern. A bitter smile crept onto my lips, and I replied, "I used to believe that too. I thought I was living a life filled with love, peace, and security. But your son has shattered every illusion I held on to. He showed me that I was living a lie. He never truly trusted me. With just one misunderstanding, he threw me out of his life forever." Inayat Sahab shook his head, unwilling to accept the reality I had just presented. "You must be mistaken," he said gently. "This can't be real. Perhaps you had a nightmare. Shahram wouldn't do this to you." I let out a sigh and wiped the tears that continued to stream down my face. "It's not a dream, Baba," I said softly. "He's made his decision. He has divorced me, and there's no room for reconciliation now." He stood silently for a moment, his gaze filled with pity and helplessness. Then he placed a reassuring hand on my head and said, "Don't worry, my daughter. I'm here for you. Everything will be okay. We'll figure this out." I shook my head, tears pooling again in my eyes. "Where will I go, Baba? You know I have no family. My parents are no longer alive. I had no home except the one I built with Shahram. I trusted him with my life. I thought he would protect me until my last breath. I believed he loved me enough to never let me face the world alone. But now he's destroyed everything. I have nowhere to go. I buried my head in my hands and sobbed uncontrollably. My father-in-law stood silently, watching me with a mixture of grief and determination. After a moment, he turned and climbed the stairs. I sat there, numb and broken, unsure of what the future held for me. Suddenly, I heard shouting and arguing coming from Shahram's room. Inayat Sahab was confronting him, and their voices grew louder with each passing second. I pressed my hands over my ears, unwilling to listen to the painful accusations Shahram was throwing at me. The man I had once trusted with my soul was now tearing my character apart, accusing me of things I hadn't done. His words were like daggers, each one stabbing deeper into my already wounded heart. The person I had given my entire self to was now destroying my very identity. After what felt like an eternity, the shouting ceased. My father-in-law came back down the stairs, his expression somber. He sat beside me and placed a hand on my shoulder. "There's a vacant room downstairs," he said gently. "You will stay there and complete your Ida. After that, I will decide what's best for you. You have no family, but I'm still alive, and I won't let you face this alone. I believe that by the time your Ida is over, Shahram will realize the truth. He'll understand what's right and what's wrong." I nodded silently, knowing that I had no choice but to trust him. With his guidance, I moved into the room downstairs. I respected the boundaries of Purda, avoiding any interaction with Shahram and maintaining a respectful distance even from Inayat Sahab. Despite the pain I carried, I remained determined to preserve my dignity during this difficult period. Inayat Sahab, though not Shahram's biological father, had always been a significant figure in his life. He had been a close friend of Shahram's father, who had passed away at a young age. Shortly after, Shahram's mother had also passed away, leaving him orphan. Inayat Sahab had taken Shahram under his wing, raising him like his own son. The house we lived in belonged to Inayat Sahab, and he treated both of us like family. When he insisted that I stay in the house to complete my Ida, I agreed, knowing that leaving abruptly would only add to my pain and humiliation. I needed time to heal and regain my strength. I clung to the hope that during this time the truth would come to light, and Shahram would realize his mistake. But as the days passed, the weight of the situation crushed me further. I avoided any interaction with Shahram, and he did the same. The once loving man who had promised me the world now acted as if I were a stranger. I often heard him talking to his friends, venting his frustrations, and reinforcing his belief in the lies Maria had fed him. His words cut through me like knives, but I stayed silent, praying for the strength to endure the storm. In the quiet of my room, I often reflected on how quickly life had changed. I had entered this house as a hopeful, happy bride, ready to build a life filled with love and dreams. But now, I was a divorced woman, abandoned and betrayed by the very person I had trusted the most. I spent countless nights crying into my pillow, wondering what I had done to deserve such a fate. Yet, despite the pain, I held on to one small glimmer of hope: Inayat Sahab's promise that things would get better. Maybe, just maybe, Shahram would realize the truth. Maybe he would understand the damage he had done and come back to me. But deep down, I knew that even if he did, the scars left by his mistrust and betrayal would never fully heal. For now, I could only wait and hope that the storm would pass, leaving me stronger than before. The days passed by slowly, each one dragging me deeper into the weight of my grief. My life had become a cycle of tears, household chores, and sleepless nights. Sometimes I cried until exhaustion took over, and other times I busied myself with small tasks just to distract my mind. Like this, 3 long months went by, and then one evening, something happened that I never anticipated. There was a sudden knock on my door. I wiped my face quickly, took a deep breath, and opened it. Standing there was Shahram, the man who had once been my entire world. My heart sank as I quickly covered my face and asked, "Why are you here?" But before I could close the door, he dropped to his knees at my feet, his eyes filled with remorse. "I've come to apologize," he said, his voice shaking. "I was blind, but now I can see the truth. I know you're innocent, Vanya. It was Maria who deceived me. She was jealous of our love. She couldn't bear to see us happy because she was unable to have children. Her marriage with Zayn was already falling apart because of their differences. When she saw how much I loved you, jealousy consumed her, and she plotted against you. I stood there, frozen in disbelief as he continued. You were only trying to help her when you called Zayn that night, but she used that against you. That night, Maria called me and said you were having a romantic conversation with her husband, and I believed her instead of trusting you. But now I know the truth. Zayn told me everything. He's divorced Maria, but not because of you. It was her own cunning and malicious actions that led him to that decision. She even caused problems in Zayn's sisters' marriages by creating misunderstandings in their households. I should have known better. Please forgive me, Vanya. Come back into my life. Shahram sobbed, clutching my feet, begging for forgiveness. But my mind was spinning. The betrayal from Maria, the divorce, and now this plea. It was all too much to process. With tears streaming down my face, I stepped back and said, You've already divorced me, Shahram. I'm still in my iddah. What right do you have to ask me to come back? Desperation filled his eyes. It was all a mistake, he cried. I was wrong. I've realized that now. Everything can be fixed. Just come back to me. I shook my head firmly and said, No, it's not possible. Please leave. My voice was so loud and determined that Inayat Sahab, my father-in-law, heard it and came rushing to the door. He looked at Shahram, who was still kneeling on the floor, and asked, What's going on here? Shahram explained everything to him, the lies, the betrayal, and his regret. Inayat Sahab stood in deep thought for a moment before he said, It's good that you realize your mistake, son. But after divorce, there's no going back without halala. That's the only way your relationship can be restored. The word halala sent a wave of dread through my entire body. My breath hitched as I stared at my father-in-law. No, Baba, I whispered, shaking my head. I won't do that. I can't. But Shahram looked at me with hopeful eyes. Please, Vanya, he pleaded. For the sake of our love, can't you do this for me? If you go through with halala, I'll take you back. I promise to cherish you, protect you, and never doubt you again. I won't let anyone come between us ever again. He kept making promise after promise, but I couldn't bear to listen. My anger boiled over as I glared at him. Then suddenly he said something that made my blood freeze. Why don't you marry my father? He can give you a divorce afterward, and you can come back to me. The room went silent, and even Inayat Sahab looked taken aback. He had mentioned halala, but he had never expected his own son to suggest that he be the one to marry me. His face turned pale, and for a moment, he looked as if he had been struck by lightning. My father-in-law was 55 years old, and he had lived a lonely life ever since his wife passed away shortly after their marriage. They had no children, and he had devoted his life to raising Shahram after his parents died. The idea of him being dragged into this situation left him visibly shaken. I stood there, trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. How could Shahram even suggest such a thing? My entire body felt like it was on fire, and my voice trembled as I shouted, This is impossible! How dare you ask me to marry your father just so you can take me back? But Shahram wasn't ready to give up. I'm begging you, Vanya, he said. Just do this one thing, and I'll make sure you never regret it. But no amount of begging could erase the pain of his betrayal. No amount of promises could undo the damage he had done. My world had already been turned upside down once, and I wasn't willing to destroy what little dignity I had left for a man who had chosen to believe lies over love. With tears streaming down my face, I whispered, You made your decision 3 months ago, Shahram. Now I'm making mine. Leave me alone. He had never thought of remarrying in so many years, but Shahram wanted to marry him and me for his own purpose. Then he sat at his father's feet and said, For my sake, you should adopt my wife for some time. For the sake of this, he filled the support and said that if Vanya has no objection, then I am ready to do this for both of you. I had the same roof on my head which was given by Inayatullah Sahib. How long would Inayatullah Sahib have given me a place in his house? If Shahram had married someone else, he would have thrown me out of that house, and that is why I agreed. But there were still many days before my iddah ended, so I told Shahram that till then you have to stay within your limits. He said, I am staying somewhere else for myself. If your Ida is over, then I will spend a few days elsewhere after getting you and Baba married. Then when I come back, you will divorce my father and we will get married. I shifted and I spent the day peacefully until my Ida was over. Shahram returned to Ayakazi Sahib and 2 witnesses, and he himself got me and Inayatullah Sahib married in front of him. I was very worried because I had never imagined a second marriage in my dream, but it was comforting to think that Inayatullah Sahib was a good entrepreneur. He was 55 years old. That's why I convinced myself for this marriage. After the marriage, I went back to Shahram. I also started going towards my room. Then Inayatullah Sahib gave me the voice and said, "Vanya, you are my wife, so you have to stay in my room." She walked slowly to Inayatullah Sahib's room. I did not understand where to sit. I was standing quietly in the corner. When he came into the room, he closed the door of the room, grabbed my hand and made me sit on the bed, then took out a gift from his pocket and extended it to me and said that my and your marriage are the same in every marriage. When I opened the gift without saying anything, I was surprised that it was a beautiful gold ring. Then Inayatullah Sahib himself put that ring in my hands and put my hands on his lips. "If you are a wife, it is lawful for me, so do not worry." Then they wrapped me in their arms and put me on their chest and said, "I feel your pain very strongly on the night Shahram abused you. I fought a lot for you, but what he did could not be corrected in any way, but now I want to." While talking to me, Inayatullah Sahib had slowly opened my hair, which was scattered up to my waist at once. He smiled and said, "I like your hair very much, Vanya. It is very beautiful and dear." I did not understand whether I should distance myself from them or it was permissible for them to be mahram for them. But my heart was beating very badly. They slowly turned off the light of the room near me and they started receiving their rights from me. After receiving his love, he started becoming completely devoted, and then when some time passed, he got his right completely from me. He did not know where the night passed with him. He did not know where the morning light came. Then Inayatullah Sahib got up and left the room, and then after a long time when he returned, I was fresh by then, he came close to me. They said, "I have handed over your right to you. Our marriage has been completed. Do you want to separate from me now?" I looked at them in amazement after listening to them, and they said, "I don't want to abuse you like Shahram. Do you want to separate from me? Do you want divorce from me?" Inayatullah Sahib was asking me, looking at me with deep eyes, and for a moment my heart forgot to beat. I put my hand on my ears and shook my head in denial and said that I do not want divorce. It was probably written in fate that I should not be Shahram's but yours. I want to carry forward my marital life with you. I should not give it, and I do not want to go to Shahram again. After listening to me, Inayatullah Sahib had a smile on his face. He put me on the chest and said that after many years, I have also felt very happy. I am also feeling complete with you. That is why I want to take this relationship forward. He called and said that both of us are happy together now. Shahram, you find another companion for your life. For some time, Shahram kept fighting with his father, but then he explained to him that maybe this was written in fate. Today, I and Inayatullah Sahib are going to get married for almost a year. In this 1 year, they have fulfilled every deficiency of my life. In this 1 year, they may be much older than me, but the humanity that they have in them is very proud for me. I feel complete when I am full. Inayatullah Sahib has given me the respect and love that every woman deserves by making up for every deficiency in my life. I would like to tell all men that never divorce your wife by talking to anyone else. Because of what Shahram did, my life and Shahram's life was ruined. If Inayatullah Sahib had not shown mercy to me and sympathized with me, I would not know what would have happened to me today.